We're live. Growing up black in the South. Rules you're taught to live by. The rules you're told to live by. The hypocritical rules. The rules that my guest Maja League was told, but I was never told. It's not fair. And we're going to get into all of that and discuss what it's like growing up as a guy in the South, a black male in the South, and all the contradictions in the world we live in. You are listening to Heard. I'm your host, Kevin, where we are celebrating the voices of all people, providing a space for their stories to be heard. We are live right now on Facebook.com/Heard on FB. You'll also find us live on YouTube. You'll find us on Instagram at heard.now. Please follow, subscribe, like, comment, message. Love to have your input during our conversation today. Let's see. Heard is an inclusive, affirming, egalitarian community, and we're glad you're here. I hope whoever you are, wherever you are, and wherever you find yourself on the journey of faith, no faith, or somewhere in between, you'll find something here that speaks to you. So with all that said, I'm so happy to have my friend from Wilmington, North Carolina, Maja League. Thank you.
What's up, Kevin? How you doing, man?
Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to be up here.
I love your Facebook profile. It says you work at perfecting yourself and you studied at how to make something out of nothing at my grandma's house.
Yep.
That's all I need to know. That is
I mean, honestly, that sums me up pretty well, to be honest. I mean, that's it. You know, I always, you'll never be perfect, so you always got to work on perfecting yourself. You know, like my big bro, Doc used to always say, practice doesn't make perfect, practice makes habit. Mm-hmm. Nothing's perfect. So, I've always kind of stood by that, just working on becoming a better you is a never-ending process.
Amen,
and
brother.
I've always kept that in mind. So that's just kind of the motto I go by. So,
well, yeah. We can't get too far into this without talking about that Frosted Flakes box on the top of the refrigerator, because you will find that exact same box on top of my mama's refrigerator.
And my dad's a Frosted Flakes guy. I'm actually honest. What's your favorite cereal? Just out of curiosity.
It's Frosted Flakes or Cinnamon Toast Crunch. When I go on vacation,
now you talk. That's my speed. I'm a Cinnamon Toast. See, we're here. I'm a Cinnamon Toast Crunch guy. That's what I was hoping for.
When I'm pretty good at home, but when I go on vacation, I load up the grocery. I usually go grocery shopping by myself on vacation, and I just load up with Lucky Charms, Frosted Flakes, Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
Yep.
And I eat it the entire time.
Yeah, Cinnamon Toast Crunch is definitely my go-to.
We are children of the 80s.
Yeah, exactly. I've gained a lot of weight back since this whole quarantine thing, so I kind of got to curb my enthusiasm.
Yeah, tell me about it. And once you pass 30, it's not like you got a metabolism to help you out. It just kind of sticks.
Exactly.
Where are you living?
I live in the Bronx currently. Live in the Bronx.
What took you up there?
We only have an hour.
Yeah.
Ironically, I lived up here I lived up here before. My grandmother's lived in the Bronx for about 40 years now. And I was up here in 2012 and 2013, and I actually moved back to Wilmington in 2013 for what I thought was going to be temporary. And I had a friend that had cancer, so I went down there in March 2013, helped do a benefit to raise money for him. And it was nice. Went down there, and then subsequently Memorial Weekend 2013, he passed away. So I ended up staying in Wilmington for a while. Ended up breaking my foot in 2013, so I kind of got stuck. And then 2014, when I thought it was all over, I blew my knee out.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, so like I was kind of kind of got bit by the injury bug. And I was kind of getting my Derrick Rose on for a little bit. Kept getting hurt. Yeah, so I in 2014 I blew my knee out, and got kind of stuck. Got in a little relationship, kind of stayed in Wilmington. I just never went back.
I like to call Wilmington the cul-de-sac of I-40.
Man, ain't that the truth? Good gosh.
It's like Hotel California. Once you get here, you ain't leaving.
I promise you, I don't know what gravitational pull Wilmington, North Carolina has, but it's and it just by some crazy chain of unfortunate events, you end up back in Wilmington.
Yeah. Do you like the Bronx?
This is actually. Oh yeah, I love it. New York's like home 1B. This is borderline temporary. I don't even know if this is permanent or not. I came up here, I was taking care of my uncle like the past year and a half back home, and he passed away suddenly in December.
Wow.
And I had a real rough 2019 mentally. So it was just kind of like, for that to happen at the end of 2019, I was like, yeah, I didn't make no posts. I told maybe 10 people, and I left.
Sometimes to have a mental restart, you kind of physically got to get out, don't you?
Yeah, I needed a reboot. I was, I had a bad breakup last year, and it was kind of public. Kind of messed with my mental health a little bit. And between that and, lost a couple of friends, and then my uncle passing on me, how he passed, I was just kind of like, you know what? I need to change the scenery to at least clear my head.
So, are you working up there?
Yeah. I'm actually a night manager at a restaurant in Brooklyn right now, family-owned spot. Doing that, but I came up here hoping to grow in film. Film is my thing. Obviously, nobody's doing anything right now.
Yeah.
With everything shut down, but film is my thing, front of the camera and back of the camera. So that's, that was the fish I was hoping to catch while I was up here. But now
yeah.
I'm just buying camera equipment and working until everything opens back up.
Are you worried about the COVID up there?
For me, no. But my grandmother's 85 with COPD, so I worry for her.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I'm young and stubborn. But I go out, mask and gloves every day. But
yeah,
I'm not. I worry more for her than anything else. I just make sure I'm safe, so that when I come see her, when she sees me, I'm not,
yeah.
I'm masked up, gloved up, hands washed. But for me, I'm not. It's serious though. Let me not downplay it. It's really intense up here. It's really intense. So
is this the same grandmother you grew up with?
No. My grandmother I was raised by passed in 2008. That was my mother's mother. This is my father's mother.
So your grandma raised you?
Yeah, back home, my mother. Yeah, I was raised by my grandma.
Oh my gosh.
Can
you speak to that?
Yeah, just I gravitated more towards her. My mother moved out of town, and I wanted to be in Wilmington, and it just kind of organically happened. It wasn't like a something happened to somebody's situation.
Mm-hmm.
I just and time was supposed to be temporary, and turned out I stayed till I was grown.
Was your dad in the picture?
Yeah, actually, that's his Frosted Flakes. He's in the picture.
Oh man, like father, like son.
Yeah. So.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
All right. So,
but but I'm sorry.
No, you go ahead.
Uh, yeah. I mean, for the most part, yeah. The short answer is yes. But I was raised solely by my grandmother.
Are you still in contact with your mom?
Oh yeah, plus my mom about 4 or 5 days a week.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
Good.
she lives in the house that I grew up in now. She took over the house, so she's in Wilmington.
All right. Good, good, good.
Yeah, yeah.
And so we went to high school together. Where did you go to middle school?
I went to Noble.
Noble, okay. And elementary?
Uh, I went to a couple.
Oh.
I went, I went to a couple. I went to Blunt,
Mhm.
and I went to Snipes. And my mom got married, and I went to Camp Lejeune for a little while, and I
Oh,
was up
wow.
there. Yeah, and then I came back here. I came back to Wilmington to do middle school. But yeah, I met you at Laney.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's not talk about how that was 20 years ago.
Oh yeah. Oh man, don't remind me. Yeah. This is my big 40 this year.
Yeah. I'm feeling it, baby. It's coming.
Yeah, man. I'm not looking. I feel 40. I feel 50, but.
Well, a couple weeks ago, you caught my attention. My wife
Mhm.
sent me a post you had made. This is around the time of Ahmaud Arbery's murder, killing.
Right.
And
Mhm.
she actually sent it. She saw it because our midwife had posted it. So I love how Wilmington works.
Okay.
And
Right.
I was like, "This is cool," and I didn't know it was. I had to put the pieces together. But
Right.
this seems to be an ongoing story, about an innocent black male, typically in their teens and 20s, like Trevon and Ahmaud, getting shot for no reason at all.
Right.
And you posted a really
Right.
great article from your own perspective, um, and I'll post it on our page. But it
Okay.
starts out with, "Let me teach you something about prejudice. When you see me, what do you see?" Most folks that actually know me go, "Oh, that's Maja. He's a sweetheart. He's a good dude. I've seen him help such and such and so and so. He always writes positive thoughts." But the folks that don't know me, you don't know what it's like to walk past people and they get afraid of you because of your size and demeanor. You look like a big teddy bear to me.
I appreciate that.
So what caused you to write this?
um, Honestly, I mean, it was. I mean, it was partially the Ahmad situation, but I mean, sometimes I just I live up to what's on your mind. When Facebook says what's on your mind,
Yeah.
sometimes I hop on soapbox rants, and I woke up that morning and that was just on my brain. You go to some of these Facebook pages and you see the comments, and just some people are so oblivious. Like, the he should have, I call them the he should have complied crowd.
Yeah.
You know, I don't, I like Buck Showalter. I don't know. Are you familiar with Buck Showalter?
No.
Yeah, the GM of the Orioles. He was the GM of the Orioles for a long time,
Okay.
and I can't remember who. It was another. It was another police killing or something. Something happened, and they interviewed Buck Showalter, after the game, and somehow it came up, and he said it. He was like, "I don't know what black people go through because I'm not black." He was
Mm-hmm.
like, and we need to be more understanding. You know, if you're white and you're saying you understand, no, you don't.
No.
Just be quiet and listen. And it was just cool to hear Buck Showalter. Because like I've never, for one, I'm not really a big Orioles fan. I'm a Yankee fan. So I'm not listening to any Orioles interviews for one. But you know,
Yeah.
but for two, it just caught my ear, man, and I thought that was really dope, and that summed it up. Like me and you are men, we're not women. So anytime a woman says what she goes through, we can't discount that because we're not women. We don't understand that.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
can't. You know what I mean? Like you
Oh yeah.
can't. If you don't walk in those shoes, you can't relate to that path. You know.
Yes, exactly. And that's why that's kind of why I wanted to start this project of videos and interviews, because so many times you hear history from the history books, you hear news from the news outlets, and it's nice to hear people's experience from their own mouth, because there's something about hearing someone's story that you can relate to them much more than you might have thought you could if you would have just even just read your Facebook post. You know, there's so many assumptions that you come to when you read something, or you just make in your day-to-day life. And
Right.
so, but you know, my friend Brian, who I want to have the same conversation with, we were talking. He's a black guy about our age, and he, you know, he was telling me about growing up, and they lived in like Pine Valley area. And you
Okay.
know, it's a little more middle class, upper middle class. His parents moved from New Jersey. He talks about one day he was mowing his grass, and a guy comes by and stops and says, he rolls down his window and says, how much? He's like, what? He's like,
Oh
yeah, how
wow.
much? And you know, just little situations like that, um, people like myself just have never experienced. Because for the white, if the world is on somebody's side, it's on the white evangelical male. Like, to be a white Christian male, you should almost have your mouth just sewn shut, you know, and your ears wide open, because for so long we've made so many of the rules and the environment and the culture that we live in, and we don't
Exactly.
know what it's like to be targeted. We don't know what it's like to not be in power. And um, so for me, reading these accounts is really telling. And one example you give is, um, let me see. Because of your size and demeanor, you appear to be threatening because of what's portrayed to be threatening by the public. People bump into you in the clubs and start apologizing profusely, thinking you're some type of menace who's going to flip out on them. You don't know what it's like to see people walk past and clutch their pocketbook a little tighter, or hit an extra beep beep on their car alarm. Just 2 days ago in Brooklyn, I crossed the street headed to work, and a guy in his BMW parked on the side, looked at me, rolled up his window, moved his car. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, that was kind of wild. I was that actually just happened like maybe like a week before I made that post. Like guy nice BMW SUV. I was hopping off the train and I was going to work, and like guy was like super comfortable, and like he looked, and like I saw him like kept like glancing at me, like, you know, and I'm a I don't really make assumptions off the rip, you know, like I kind of put the shoe on the other foot, and you know, something. Oh, maybe he was just leaving when you were coming. No, like I saw him like, because he went from way comfortable to way uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Like rolled his windows up and just took off. And he didn't go far. He just went up the block and pulled over again. That was the crazy part.
Yeah. So, I
That was
mean,
the. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
yeah, no, yeah, sorry, there's a lag. Are these, but have you grown up with that? I mean, is that something that's happened to
Oh,
you?
yeah. I mean, yeah, definitely. Like the craziest one, I think it was in the. I remember I had some friends, my two white friends. They were we were all selling sneakers, and we went out to a neighborhood, you know, and you know, just being around. I really didn't want to take all of them shoes out to begin with, but we go out to the neighborhood and, you know, selling the shoes or whatever. All of a sudden, guy pulls up, big AK-47, lays everybody down on the ground. We all get robbed. Sneakers robbed, cash robbed, phone robbed, everything robbed. All three of us.
In Wilmington?
Yeah, this was over a decade ago now. I was in my 20s. But we hop in the truck, speed off. We get to the closest hotel, use the phone, call the police. Police get there, pushing us all separate. When it's all over with, we get back to the house. My guy goes, "You wouldn't believe what the police officer does." And I was like, "What?" He was like, "Yeah, they tried to pin it on you." I said, "What?" They were
On
like,
you?
"Yeah, man. They tried to make it seem like they were trying to, coerce the guys in the same. He's probably your black dude was probably in on it.
Oh my
Like
God.
that blew my mind. Now the other guy, now one of the guys was my friend, the white. With me, not the robbers, but
Mhm.
the one of the guys was the other white dude didn't really know me. So the other white dude was telling his friend, maybe it was really ugly. Like it really caused like tension between me and the guy that I didn't know.
Yeah.
But my friend, he was like, look, man, I've known this guy forever. That ain't even his character. I mean, we're still cool to this day.
Mhm.
But it was crazy how the police tried to pin it on pinning on me, and I'm with them. I was face down with you guys. Were you?
Oh my God. So you there is some of that gaslighting that goes on, and you hear it during one of these killings, like with Trayvon Martin in Florida. You hear, well, he shouldn't have been wearing a hoodie. He shouldn't have had his hands in his pocket with his Skittles. And
You're
it's like
right.
if I want to go to Dollar General at 9:30 at night and wear a hoodie, I do it because it's my right. I never
In
think
my
twice
neighborhood.
about it, sir.
It was his neighborhood.
Yeah, what's his name? So
Like that's the crazy part. Like he wasn't even like he was at his dad. He was going back to his dad's house. Like that's the neighborhood he's always in.
yeah, of course. And so have you changed the way, whether you agree with it or not, have you changed the way you dress, the habits you do? Is that something you were taught growing up?
Uh, I'm more so taught to keep my head on a swivel. Like obviously, like the irony of the conversation. And the funny thing is, I didn't even think about. I just came from the store, and I have on a black hoodie and a black hat. But I'm unshaven right now. You know, the good. Black hoodies, black guy.
Yeah.
That gets frowned upon.
Now,
Especially down south. Especially in the south.
yeah. So is there a huge
It's
difference from what you experience here versus there? I mean, I would assume so.
uh yeah, no.
Hmm.
It's 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 all relative. It's different. Like down south, how can I put it? Like up north, if you try like up north, like okay, let's all right. So down south, let's say I want a job at like Dunkin' Donuts.
Hmm. Yeah.
You just go in there, get a job, fill out an app, Dunkin' Donuts. Here, Dunkin' Donuts is incorporated, it's owned probably by like some, Arabic, Pakistani or somebody. They're not gonna hire you.
Oh wow.
Like, it's tougher to, I won't say they're not gonna hire you, but it's way tougher to get a job. Maybe black. In certain
Up
in,
up
I
there?
in certain spots, yeah. You'd be I was kind of the shock value on that. My grandma was like, yeah, I wanted to go see about this job, and she was like, they're not gonna hire you. I was like, what are you doing? I was like, what? Me, I was kind of naive to that. I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
it's all relative. I'm trying to think of the easiest way to put it between the those
Yeah.
things.
Well, I mean, if I've heard people. This is going to sound so white Southern to me, but like I've heard people from up north be like, "Oh, that's the Jewish part of town. Oh,
I
that's
was
it. Yeah,
that's
yeah,
where I was going.
yeah. Oh, he's a Jew." Like they refer to people that way. And I'm
The
like,
North is
really?
actually more segregated than you would think. The South is segregated. The North is segregated.
Yeah,
Like down south, down south. That's the crazy part. Down south, you'll have a racist redneck who they'll work. They'll be working with big black dudes, and they don't like black dudes, but they work together. You might see them on the farm at the plant. Such and such and such. Like you know, kind of living in the same communities. You don't really see that up there. It's like the Jewish area,
yeah.
Black and Spanish area, the Italian area. Like that's a thing. That's a real thing. Like I live in the Bronx. It's predominantly like Black and Spanish. Like you don't really see like white people where I live.
Oh, okay. All right.
Like now where I work at, that's all you see. I live in like kind of like a gentrified area of Brooklyn. So it's like it's more white than anything else. It's real expensive to live. Like I'm like 2 blocks from the river. So you can already kind of get in your mind what kind of property is out that way.
Yeah, I went to my friend's house in Long Island when I was like 20, and I remember they had like a little bungalow and a yard, and I was like, "Hey, I'm not trying to be rude, but like your parents do pretty well. I'm just kind of confused." And she's like, "Oh no, this is a nice house. We got a yard."
Exactly. Like yeah, space isn't really a thing up here.
Yeah.
Like don't let the camera fool you. This kitchen is small.
Yeah. That's a nice one though. So another thing you said in your post is you don't know what it's like to have someone sick their dogs on you and your cousin in the country and having to run without having time to ask why.
That was wild. Yeah, rest in peace to my cousin Bobby. He was like, ironically, he was actually murdered, for a long time, a while back. But I used to go out there and go visit them. They lived like right outside of Fayetteville.
Mm-hmm.
And, I forgot what store we were coming from. It was like a long dirt trail, with like high grass on each side, and like it sounds so cliche and movie like, but it was just like an old white dude on the porch with his dog, just started yelling obscenities, like, like get off his land. We weren't even really on his property. We were just going back to, and he let the dog. I mean, like he real loud, like let them go, like made his hand like, and we kids, we ran. I mean, the dogs didn't get us,
Yeah.
and and looking, the dogs might not have got us, but he sent them after us.
Yeah, sure.
He real life sent those dudes after like yelling like racist obscenities at us. So that was crazy. We were young. I mean, like I might have been a teenager. I probably was a preteen back then. I probably was about 13, maybe 14.
So you learned from an early age that it wasn't just it was very real. And it didn't matter if you were in the country, in the city. It didn't matter if you were with people that you trusted.
Yeah. Nah, it doesn't, man. It's one thing about prejudice. See, it's different. Like I tell people all the time, there's a difference between being prejudiced and there's a difference between being racist. Racism and prejudice are two different things, believe it or not. Everybody's prejudiced. Everybody ain't racist, but everybody's prejudiced.
Mm-hmm.
Like you see a big black guy, you think, oh man, this guy's tough, rough, da 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 da. You see like you might see like a Mexican out, and you see them like you think a Mexican, you have a perceived conception of them. You see an Asian, you have a perceived conception of them.
Yeah.
And it's from things you see on TV, things you hear on the radio, media, social media, you have these perceived misconceptions of other races, and some stereotypes, have a bit of validity to them. For the most part, though, everybody's an individual. You kind of gotta, I don't know. I guess because I've been fortunate enough to I've lived in the projects, and I've lived in military bases, and I've lived in the suburbs.
You lived in the projects in Wilmington?
Yeah, I lived in the Heights. I lived out there. I lived in Berkeley Hills. I lived in Camp Lejeune. So I've lived a little bit everywhere.
Yeah.
I have friends of all different. Both even my son. I have 3 boys. 2 of them are mixed, and one of them was white.
Mm-hmm.
Like one of my, so and that is what really, really, really weighs on me with everything that's going on, because I have friends that I got raised.
Um,
in today's. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
yeah, I'm sorry. There's a delay. The after the Ahmaud killing, my family and my kids were doing the 2.5 mile run in his honor, and it
Mhm.
really hit me hard when we passed a home down the road from us with a couple young black boys around the age of my children, and
Right.
it just hit me. They, even now in 2020, especially in light of Trumpism, they are going to grow
Sure,
up.
man.
They are going to grow up with different rules than what I'm teaching my children.
Right.
What are some of
Exactly.
those rules that you're going to that you teach your children?
I mean, one, be very aware of your surroundings. Two, don't be naive. You know, never be naive to a situation. You know, you get pulled. It's funny, like, I mean, it's not funny at all, but like, you know, you get pulled over versus me getting pulled over.
Yeah.
You know, it's two completely different demeanors. You
Oh,
know,
I'm sure. And especially depending on what you're driving. Like if you have a tail light out versus if I have a tail light out, I'm sure they're going to see that as an opportunity to pull you over.
exactly. That's happened. You know, like I had that happen to me one time. You know, like like, oh man, like, okay, I got one. Prime example. So me and the girl at the time I used to date, we used to have this really nice sporty Volvo.
Mm-hmm.
You know, dark blue, black leather, real sporty. I'm leaving downtown. Now, mind you, I party promoted book shows. A lot of people downtown know me, from the cops to like all the local people. So I'm leaving downtown, going down the straightaway. I see this cop car behind me. I mean, going the speed of sound. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm not thinking anything of it. I'm just riding, you know. And so I pull over. You know, you pull to the side, thinking that the cop is going to go around you.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and he got behind me when I pulled over to the. I was like, so I'm thinking, I'm like, damn, are my lights off? Or, like I'm looking, like I'm checking. I'm like, well, like the car's straight. Like, is the, you know, what's going on? And so
Mm-hmm.
he was like, I rolled down my window. It was like license and registration. I was like, now at the time, I didn't have my license at the time, and I had a fade to appear. I could be, it's years ago now. It's old. But he was like, oh man, he looked at my face. And he said, oh, Major. He was like, you know, I said, yeah, man, what you pulled me for? He was like, well, you look like you were trying to get away from me. I said, get away from you? I didn't even know you were behind me. What are you, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
And we're having this conversation, and he was like, you know, he kind of felt silly. And then by this point, a female officer had pulled up with him, and she was like, you know, she walked up and she was like, oh, Major. And she looking at him like, why you got him? Like, this is Major. Like, why do you have him pulled over? Like, mind you, keep in mind, they both know me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
And they're still having the conversation.
right. Well,
Yeah.
you know, because he's initiated the whole pullover. And so I had an FTA, you know, which is ironically was already getting handled, failure to appear. And he goes, dang, man, because he had to look me up, you know, because he pulled me over. He said, man, I got to take you to jail. I said, you got to what?
Oh
So
my God.
she was like, you know, and then he felt like, I said, well, you know, basically, why did you, I said, so let me get this straight. I got, like, I was cool with the, you know, the reasoning, but I'm like, dude, like, you only followed me because I was black in his car. And I pretty much told him that and he knew it, and he felt so embarrassed. And she was just like, I'm sorry, Maeve. And she looked down like, but this guy had he ended up getting fired. Not for that, but
Yeah.
he kind of had a lot of infractions. Like my boss, one of my bosses, he got in a car accident with him. Like he was known for a lot of like just screw ups and ended up getting fired. But like that whole situation was crazy. Like dude really pulled me because of who I was in the car. He knew it. And
But
like every time he told
regardless,
me,
I mean, you can't win. You drive a shitty car, you get pulled over. You drive too nice of a car. What do you drive? A
right,
Toyota Camry?
he said what?
I mean, what's the solution? If the car's too shitty, you get pulled over. If it's too nice, you get pulled over. If I don't know if you should just drive like a 1999 Toyota Camry, and
Right.
and I think that's how it's kind of portrayed. Like it's always, oh, it's his fault. Oh,
Well,
he shouldn't have been wearing that.
that's where I was going.
Yeah.
Because imagine if that was a cop I didn't know. Imagine if it was a situation where I did, God forbid, like I did get gunned down. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's going to talk about anything except for the fact that, he had a failure to appear anyway. He must have been a thug criminal. Anybody that knows, anybody, you know what I mean? Like, that's why I focus my speech with anybody that knows me, knows me. But you look at, did you see what they just did with Ahmad, right? They brought up like some old shoplifting case from like 10 years ago, or 5 or 6 years ago.
Yeah.
Wait, my thing is this. Nobody deserves to die over the stuff that they're dying over.
Oh no, the guy in New York with selling cigarettes.
Dude, that was crazy. The guy with the bootleg DVDs. Tamar Rice. Tamar Rice is the worst one. Tamar Rice was a 12-year-old kid with a gun in the park. And somebody made a phone call saying that somebody had a gun in the park. This is a 12-year-old kid. That's why I don't like my kids having guns. I'm not a fan of my kids having a toy gun, and this is one of the reasons. This kid was a kid in the park, toy gun, minding his own business in the park. The police rolled up on him, like on the grass in the park, and gunned this kid down.
Oh my God.
Gun this kid down. This kid's a 12-year-old kid. For one, first off, what cop in their right mind? If you see a guy in the park with a gun, but even if let's just say it was a grown man with a real gun.
Yeah.
What cop rides up and do a drive-by on a criminal? If you ever get a chance, look up the video. It borderline looked like a drive-by.
Yeah. Well, and to speak to that, in that moment, the cop is afraid for his life, or is afraid for all these assumptions he has about the situation. And, but can you speak to this? My friend Brian mentioned to me, the problem with the Ahmad case is there was this understanding that was unsaid. And I'm sure this happens in all these cases. There's this understanding that says, not only am I threatening to kill you, but justice will never be served.
Yeah, and I think it's crazy because people have gotten so desensitized to like, these cases. Like, will you even hear about Ahmaud Arbery in 6 months? Nobody talks about Sandra Bland anymore. If it wasn't for George Zimmerman being such an asshole, excuse me, sorry.
Yeah. Oh, that's good.
Okay, we're cool with that one.
Yeah. Being asshole.
All right. Just making sure. George Zimmerman, if George Zimmerman wasn't still out and about, you wouldn't even, nobody would still be talking about Trayvon. Like, nobody talks about any of these cases anymore.
Well, and that brings up another point. People talk about, when people talk about them, if they talk about them, it's because there's video proof. And not only that, but there's video proof to the degree that there's no doubt that something went wrong.
Exactly.
So it makes you think of all the times there wasn't a video proof, and stories were not listened to, were not heard, were not, validated.
Will Smith said something along those lines. He said racism isn't getting worse; it's just being televised.
So, can you speak to Trumpism? Has it been worse since Trumpism?
I will say, with you can take it further back than that. You can take it back to Obama. When Obama got elected, you found out what people really thought.
Mm-hmm.
That was the lob. But when Trump got elected, that was the dunk. That was, you really. I mean, it's just since Trump has been elected, you have people not afraid to say what they really feel, which is a good thing because you find out real quick. You see it on social media all the time. You see people you went to school with like, and you see some of their posts, and you're like, "That's the same guy I went to school with." Have you thought like this the whole time we were hanging out?
Well, yeah, and I think it's fitting that we're at your kitchen table right there, because Obama said before he left office, he said, "I think if all of us could sit at a kitchen table and have this conversation, it'd be a lot different." Do you think there's some of it? Yeah,
dialogue would definitely help. I got a friend named Trey who he actually reached out. I mean, it never came to fruition, but I remember one time it was getting real ugly on Facebook, and it might have been the Kaepernick situation. I feel like it was the Kaepernick, but he inboxed me. And Trey's white. Let me put that. And
sure.
And Trey was like, "Hey man, like I don't like the fact that these conversations are getting ugly like that between us. Like I agree with what I agree with, and you agree with what. Like we've been friends like since school. I would like for me, you, and some of the guys. Like that was dope. But it needs to be more people saying things like that. Hey man, we need to have a talk, because it's okay to disagree with people, but like to just totally discount what somebody else is going through, that ain't. I mean, because it ain't the fact that some people don't know; it's the fact that some people don't want to know. They don't care to know.
Well,
it doesn't affect them, and that's from racism to the drug problem. Just things in general. If it ain't on your doorstep, you don't care. Like you look at the drug problem. You look at how big the heroin problem is right now. The heroin problem is huge, right?
well, I have friends on. I know in Wilmington it's for sure a huge problem. But I have friends. I have friends and family that are Trump supporters that I feel like are not racist, and I feel like they would say, well, I like his policies on that, and you have to look at what he did and all these things. I, for one, was not a Trump supporter, but
my thing with Trump, and I had when it comes to certain Trump supporters, not all Trump supporters.
Yeah.
You vote. Everybody ain't bad. You vote for what's in your best interest. When people voted for Trump, I had a lot of white military friends. They were like diehard Trump when he voted in that general and this, that, and the third, and they were like, Trump's going to give all this money to the military and blah blah blah. And you vote for what's in the best interest, because I think at heart everybody wants the same thing.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to live comfortably and take care of their family. Period. Problem is everybody doesn't want to go about it the same way, and that's when it gets great. Because at the end of the day, I got people that I know are Trump supporters, and I don't really have an issue with them, from a personal standpoint. I just have an issue with some of their politics.
During the all of the violence in Virginia, that was kind of a telling moment for me when he said that he believed there were very good people on both sides.
The fact that he said that said a lot about him. A lot.
My friend in Germany told me that it's illegal to fly a Nazi flag over there, but you can fly a Confederate flag. So a lot of them use it as a substitute.
Really?
Yeah, I had no idea.
That's a real thing?
Yeah. It's a substitute. So how do you reconcile it? I mean, what would your friends say if you were having this conversation with them and you said, Trump does support XYZ, and we see all these racists feeling empowered? Would they say, yeah, I disagree, I don't agree with that, I don't support those people? Or would they say, oh, it's blown out of proportion?
Bit of both. Just depends on who I ask. That whole thing with the tiki torches in Charlottesville, and the fact that he said there's good people on both sides, that was really a telling tale of who he was and who supports him. Like the fact that people still supported him after that and tried to justify it was crazy.
Could you imagine if all those guys would have been black with tiki torches and guns?
They would have been gunned down. They would have been gunned down. I mean, you look at if you're being honest, not you, but like the proverbial you.
Mm-hmm.
You look at history, like the country was founded for white men, and I'm not saying that, like, trust me, I'm not saying that in a bad way. I'm just saying how everything was set up, and things are slowly changing, but they're changing at a very, very, very slow pace, and I think the problem is the older generation thinks that they're losing something because other people are coming in, you know. More people of color are in office, more people of color on TV, more people of color are in music. Like, you're not, and it's kind of like when you've been the only person at your job for so long with all the perks, and then they start hiring more people. You're not losing any perks; they just get perks too. But you're so used to being the only person in the break room with all the donuts and the coffee, and you've always had access to the coffee, donuts, and the sugar to yourself. You know, when they hire Bob, Tom, and John, you're like, well, hold up, like, this is my coffee, my sugar, like, there's still enough coffee, sugar, and donuts and stuff to go around, but you done got so used to being the only one in the break room, you don't even know how, like, you subconsciously don't even know how to adjust to that. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah. So there's this idea that, well, racism matters, but it's secondary to messing with my money. Don't touch my money. Don't touch my economic policy.
I'd say that a lot. People think a lot of people get caught up in parties, man. It ain't red or blue, it's green. It really is. Like, people get caught up in Democrats, Republicans, blah, blah, blah. It's about money.
Yeah.
It's all it's ever been about. It's about money. They disguise it as everything else. It's about money. It doesn't matter. Anything. You got money, you can walk in any room you want to. It don't matter you're Democrat, Republican, Christian, atheist, Muslim. You got money, you can walk in any room you want to.
You were talking about the change of pace, or the pace of change, I should say. And on our conversations on here on Sundays, we usually do talk about things kind of from a Christian perspective or from a Christian background, because it's a perspective a lot of people can relate to. And so whether they still hold that faith or have left that faith or whatever, it doesn't matter in terms of myself and this show or podcast or whatever, but it is something that people can relate to. And so one thing we were talking about last week was that was the slow pace of change in the church, and how now it's pretty common to see a pastor or a church be, pro racial reconciliation or whatever words you want to call it, or speak out about it, and they can get away with it, whereas they couldn't have maybe 20, 30 years ago. And so there's this idea that, and you have to wait for almost like the oldest among you to be okay with it before you can even kind of talk about it, because those are the people that pay the bills. Back to that money thing. So,
right.
But for people like myself, it's very frustrating because, I see, like, why are we waiting? Why is this so slow? Why can't we go ahead and talk about it? Have you had that frustration? Yeah, go ahead.
To your point, if you've noticed lately, like in the past, like 5 to 10 years, there have been a lot more churches starting out young. Like, a lot of these new churches are like young and very heavily integrated. Have you? I don't know if you noticed that lately.
Yeah. Well,
like go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and that's my hope. That that's my hope.
I see that a lot. Like, a lot of my friends, like, I can't think of the name of the church. That I don't. But like, and it's like the pastor's white. And when you were young, you wouldn't have saw that. And like, this guy's solid. Like, I've never met the guy, but like, the people that I know go to his church, and like, they're always with him. Like, I know he's solid because the people that have gravitated to this church wouldn't, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you see that a lot. You see, like, a lot more churches being integrated now, and that's dope. I think that's real cool. But there's the problem with a lot of things, especially in like the urban communities, is the lack of resources. Like, that's fundamentally the problem. You know, it's easy for people to say, why don't you just, you know, because you have resources that they don't. And I see people all the time, you know, they talk about the worst one is, well, what about black on black crime? That's the worst one.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, like when you see people like, well, cops kill it, like you see this on comments all the time. You'll see, like, if you go in the comment section, like a lot of these Facebook posts, like cops killed blacks, and, you know, white guy kills black or whatever. They say, well, what about black on black crime?
Yeah, yeah.
Two fundamentally different conversations.
Yeah, it's like the All Lives Matter movement, you know, instead of and the Blue Lives Matter movement and the Black Lives Matter, and people say, when you show up to a Black Lives Matter with an All Lives Matter sign, it's like going to a you know, breast cancer awareness run, showing up saying all cancer matters. Like that's not how it works.
Exactly. That's exactly what it's like. You know, and I think, but you know, people got to understand, man. Pro-black does not mean anti-white.
That's good.
You know, just because I'm pro-black doesn't mean I'm anti-white. You know, black doesn't have the same. For one, it doesn't have the same definition as white. Like, prime example, Kevin, what's your nationality?
European, white.
I mean, like
Scottish?
Italian, German, Scottish.
Probably Scottish, from what I've looked at.
All right. Ask me what I am.
What's your nationality?
I don't know. Kevin, why don't I know?
That's a good question. I did not know.
Yeah, I don't know why, because I was brought here, because my ancestors were brought here. They were all
record.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
We have to be like, you know, like if somebody goes Italian pride, it gets waved, clapped. Somebody puts Irish pride, it gets, you know, cheered, drinking. Yeah. Even Spanish pride. Somebody put black pride. All of a sudden, people just think militant, guns, kill whitey. You know, like, no, it's black pride because we're all associated as black people. Like, if we wanted to, you know, we would like to do Ghana pride or Kenyan pride or, you know, Egyptian pride. Like, we identify as black. So we have to all, you know, so like us being proud of being black doesn't have anything to do with being anti-white.
Have you, I heard it said that, I've heard people, I've heard minorities say you have no idea what it's like to fight for all the rights that you enjoy.
Ooh, the funny thing is believe it or not, I've never heard that, but I like that. I agree. Like, there's just certain, there's certain things that, you know.
Oh, hold on.
Hear me?
Yeah, say it again. There's certain things, what?
There's certain things like you guys can enjoy freely that we can't without having our head on. Like you were talking about the car. You know, if you're a white guy, you buy a convertible BMW. You ride through with your Ray-Bans on, top back.
Yeah.
You know, first thing they think, oh man, that's a nice car. Wonder what he does. He probably has a good job. They see me with a top back and a Benz. Oh man, he either sells drugs or plays sports or raps. But it's just the way that people's minds are programmed. Think about that. If you see a black guy my size, same shades on, same car, same convertible, 9 times out of 10, he must rap or play ball or he must sell drugs.
Yeah.
He couldn't have just went to college and had a good credit score and got a car. You see that a lot, you know.
Yeah.
And it's just people have to unlearn. Like, it's just the way people have been trained to think.
Is that kind of where you find the solution? And it's not your responsibility. Yeah, I want to say this. It's not your responsibility to tell me what the solution is, and it's not your responsibility to teach me about black oppression. And I think that's one of the misnomers in the white community. Like, well, they should have said something sooner, you know, and and why don't they tell us what they think about it? And it's like, no, you dumbass, this is your responsibility. You've put these minorities in this situation.
Right. You know, they tell you, you know, just go out and pull yourself up by the bootstraps and don't give me no boots or no straps. You know, like,
I like that.
It's, you know, it's crazy. I heard somebody say that the other day, and that was perfect. You know, you look at, you know, and this, I can't remember who said it, and he was breaking down, you know, they said they didn't want to live with us, and we went out and got our own communities, and then they took those from us. You look at Black Wall Street, Tulsa, Oklahoma, you know, 1898, the Wilmington race riots.
Yeah.
You know, Wilmington is the only city in the history of the country to successfully have a coup d'etat. You know, Black Wall Street, we have black-owned everything. They burned it down. You know, just Rosewood. You know, you look at all of these situations, like, you say you don't want us to be around, go get our own. We get our own. And you take that from us.
You can't win.
Like,
and so it's probably very it's very discouraging. And so what is a solution in your opinion? Or, you know, I know that's a broad question, but just off the top of your head.
I mean, honestly, people just got to, for one, urban communities need better resources. Like, you can't stick people in situations that have been in those situations for generations and just magically expect them to just come out of it. You know, you got people that have lived, you know, I don't know, you know, you look at, like, I don't think people understand what some of these kids go through in these neighborhoods. You know, you look at kids in the suburbs, they get access to, like, therapy, you know, kid can go see a therapist, and, you know, he gets to go on trips and this, that, and the third. These kids, the kids in some of these neighborhoods, the stuff some of these kids see.
Yeah, at a young age.
At a young age, and you still expect these kids to go to school and just be yes ma'am, no ma'am, and da 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 da, like these, like that's crazy. And you know, and you say, well, why can't? Because the parents grew up the same way, and the grandparents grew up the same way, and vice versa. You have to break generational curses. Like, that's, you know, you have to start this at the foundation. You really have to start with the children. You know, you have a lot of people that do things. I tell people all the time, you know, you got to get your hands dirty. You got to attack the roots. You can't just pour water on the petals. You got to, you know, if you want something to grow, you got to get into the roots. You got to start at the bottom. You got to start at the foundation. And people, you know, and I think people don't understand that. And the people that do understand that aren't ready to do the work that's necessary.
I've heard it said that proximity gives perspective. And, you know, I think for years, at least in Wilmington, I mean, I grew up in the 80s and 90s. You had Creekwood, you had Gervais, you had all these projects. And, like, even Creekwood, if you go down Martin Luther King, they have one of those walls up that I think is for sound. But to me, it almost feels like if we can just keep the minorities in these neighborhoods, then we don't have to see it. We don't have to feel it. We don't have to touch it. And it's kind of funny that, like, Landfall is a walled community. And if, you know, as long as we can stay inside this wall, we don't have to see it. We don't have to feel it. We don't have to touch it. It doesn't have to change us. And I've heard people, you know, you were talking earlier about Facebook comments and they can get ugly and things, and they can, but that doesn't mean that you should necessarily turn a blind eye. It's white privilege to say, well, it wasn't serving me being on my Facebook. It was just so divisive. And it's like, well, maybe some of this stuff you needed to see. Maybe you needed to be exposed to this hypocrisy, this racism, this oppression.
Exactly. You know, people don't care until it affects them. That's what I was talking about earlier with the drug situation. Like you look at the heroin situation, and it's actually bigger than Wilmington. You just in Wilmington, it's a thing, but like that's everywhere. But you look at it like this: heroin, crack, all that stuff has been in black neighborhoods since the 70s and 80s. Nobody gave a damn.
Yeah. As long as it was restricted to those communities.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, heroin's in the suburbs. Now you got treatment facilities, medicine, and and this, that, and the third, and now it's a sickness, and now you see where I'm going with this?
Oh, of course, yeah, and I'm sure to get treatment in the suburbs, you have to have insurance that pays for it.
Right, methadone clinic.
Yeah.
And like what do you like? And like they make it seem like this is a new problem, and it's like we've been around since the 70s and 80s.
Yeah,
this ain't new.
And I'm sure one reason it was ignored is because it supported the court system and the prison population, the private prison population.
Exactly. Man, that's a lot of money in prisons. It's a lot of money in putting young black boys in jail. That was did you see that? This was that happened somewhere, I believe it was Pennsylvania. A couple years back, there was a judge that got fired and sent to prison because he was like in pocket with one of the private prisons.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
So he was just sending kids, like I'm talking like a decade worth of cases.
Oh, I'm sure. Well, see, and I'm so naive, and I admit that. I had jury duty about a year or two ago, and it was just terrible. It was like working at the hospital. I was like, I can't imagine people go to this place every day. Like the stories and the situations in that system. And furthermore, I can't imagine being stuck in that system as like you said, like a failure to appear or whatever. Like that whole system is intended to not only get you in there for some stupid, parking ticket that wasn't paid, all the way to get you and to just keep you in there. And
they say jail's a revolving door.
A revolving door, yeah.
They say jail's a revolving door. I've never been like in prison. Like I ain't never been locked up in that. So I've been fortunate enough. I ain't never been in no trouble. So
yeah.
But yeah, man, they say once you get in that system, it's hard to get out of it. But basically, man, like what I was saying with the whole drug situation, it's also like mental health. Like a lot of people that know me personally know I'm a big advocate for mental health. I'm a huge advocate for mental health. And the way that it's dealt with in the black community is completely different from the way it's dealt with in the white community.
Oh, speak to that. Yeah, speak to that. If you go to a family member and say that you're struggling with depression, what's the reaction going to be?
Sign of weakness. Oh, suck it up. He just crazy. Or it gets discounted. And these kids kids in these neighborhoods really suffer from PTSD that really gets overlooked. You look at the average person that, like, I have my dad was in the military, my stepdad, my grandfather. I got plenty of friends, cousins in the military. My film partner, he actually gets a check every month, because he caught shrapnel in a war, But you look at the PTSD these guys in the military get. They go off the war, they see all of this stuff. They come back, 24, 25. They done seen people get their head blown off.
Mm-hmm.
People that they were just hanging with, They see what about the 8-year-old kid that sees the same thing every day in his neighborhood? And he ain't signed up for that.
Yeah.
You got kids that see people get killed every day. Kids that see muggings every day. Kids that see all types of heinous stuff that never gets reported. Drug dealing, drug killing, people with guns, prostitute, drug use, you name it. And these are kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they're supposed to process all of this like an adult. You know,
Yeah.
and then you expect these kids they don't get the treatment at the house, you know, because, you know, parents either suck it up or they just don't have access to it or they just don't have the education to get the access to it. Then these kids go off to school, you know, they go to high school, you know, a product like people were like, you know, you're a product of your environment. That's all you see, that's all you know. And then you
Yeah.
got nobody that gave you an outlet to get it out.
Yeah.
And
then
you see it in the attitude, the way these kids carry themselves, you hear it in the music. Like, this is what they go through, and they ain't got no outlet.
Yeah. This is what they know.
Yeah, and it's like nobody's sending these kids in the hood to the therapist. You know, they don't get to sit down with somebody and talk about their problems or learn coping mechanisms. You know?
Yeah, it's funny because in the white community, to have a therapist is almost like something to be proud of. Yeah, I got to go see my therapist today. You know,
Exactly.
so it's just so white.
But exactly. But what you just said is exactly what it shouldn't be. Going to see a therapist shouldn't be a white thing. It should be an illness thing. You see what I'm saying?
Oh, of course.
Think about how you and I'm not like getting on you, but think about how you subconsciously said going to see your therapist sounds white.
Yeah.
And you said that without even thinking.
Sure.
And you meant no harm by it. Like, I know you. I know.
Yeah.
Because white kids are more accustomed to going to the therapist.
Yeah.
You know, like my son's been to therapy, you know.
Yeah.
You know, but I look at it's going to be interesting to see when they get older because, like I told you, I have 2 mixed children, and I have 1 white son. I've helped. I was in a relationship for a really long time, and her son is white.
Okay.
And you know, he calls me dad. I call him son.
I love it.
You know, and ironically, his birthday is today. So happy birthday, Brody.
Happy birthday, Brody.
Yep, he turns 9 today, and you know, he's raised with his little brother's 3 years old. You know, mixed, obviously, and his little brother's gonna be bigger than him. Like, he's almost his size already. Like my 3-year-old is the size of about a 5-year-old. He's a giant. Like, and he's gonna be that bigger little brother. You know, and there'll be things that my youngest goes through that Brody won't go through, you know.
Yeah. Have you seen that already?
Personally, have I seen it with them? No, but how I've seen it be treated when I'm with them, yeah. Like, it used to be times where I'd be with Brody and like I get looked at crazy, you know. But
yeah. Well, I mean, and that's kind of that's very interesting.
Well, they live in like a small town in Tennessee, which sometimes scares the crap out of me. You know, they live right outside of Nashville. You know, I'm just like, I'm hoping, nothing ever happens. But you gotta, I'm gonna have to, teach them or, let them know, like, look, this is the real world. I got my 11-year-old lives in Jersey. He's mixed too, but it's like, I look at, there's just things that they're gonna have to learn.
Yeah.
That, hey, it's just not. I look at more of the contrast between my younger two because they live together, and one's white and one's mixed. And they're gonna get treated different.
Yeah, that's gonna
be.
Yeah. Well, and I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was trying to find the right thing to say. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, it's like, in a lot of like white evangelical circles, like a white family to adopt a black kid is like, it's like, oh, that was just a great thing to do. And it's like, but it sounds like it's completely opposite if they see you with a white kid.
Yeah, I've got that occasionally, and I kind of, I've definitely, I've definitely got that. I've got that for reasons that I can't really talk about on this.
I understand. Well,
But yeah, I've definitely got that. I've definitely got that.
If people watching have any questions, please comment. I had one friend that we went to high school with, Katie, say, until there are more POC.
Are there comments? POC is people of color.
Oh,
Are there
okay.
comments? I don't see comments on my side.
Not on Zoom, but you have to log into Facebook.
Oh, okay, got it.
But she messaged this. Okay. And that was the whitest thing I think I said all day. What is POC? Until there are more until there are more people of color and mental health services, would therapy as it stands today really have the capacity to be therapeutic?
Say that one more time. I'm sorry.
Until there are more people of color in mental health services, would therapy as it stands today really have the capacity to be therapeutic?
You know what? That's a valid point. That's a valid point. I was actually, ironically,
I'm trying to understand it. Can you explain that question?
In other words, like more, I'm assuming she means like more black therapists, more black staff, you know, because, you know, in our neighborhoods, like it was never like, you know, we did have people, they just weren't therapists. You know, we had like, you know, it's crazy now because you look at all the programs that are gone. Like growing up, like in Wilmington, you know, you had like the H3 Center, you know, Mr. Murphy, you know, you had, you know, Mr. Jackson at the Boys Club, you know, like you had all these programs, and like they were kind of like the dad for everybody. The therapist, you know, you don't really have a lot of those programs like you used to, and you're seeing all these kids run rampant because there ain't nobody, you know. These kids don't have anybody to vent to. They have all of this stuff bottled up, man. Go ahead.
And those situations are beautiful. Like it reminds me of friends and family and pastors that I've had in my life to speak into my life, but they don't take the place of professional therapy in a lot of cases.
No, they don't. Like I was actually a mental health tech for a little bit of time at a behavior facility, and like honestly, I contemplated like if I come back to Bloomington, I might go back. I mean, I don't really like the facility, but I like the fact that I got them kids. You know, I've always wanted to, you know, eventually get to like really, you know, being more hands-on with helping kids. And whoever said that is right. I think that's actually a real good point. Whoever said that, you know, I think people of color do need to look more into getting into the mental health field because I think that would help out. You know.
Yeah, because just imagine if you were 9, 10, 11. Say that the situation with the dog in the country just happened. That's a traumatic event. Like it shouldn't be made light of. That's a traumatic event. So if you go to a counselor at school, like that is a middle-aged white woman, is she going to have any way to relate to what you're saying?
Exactly.
Even if she has the best interests at heart, you know?
Yeah,
it's just a different world.
I can say I was fortunate enough to have a few outlets. Like I lived across the street from the fire station, and there was a lot of black firemen that worked at the fire station. You know, so like literally directly across the street from my house, like open the door, fire station right there. And like I grew up going over there all the time.
Oh, is this on Prince's Place?
Yeah. I lived in the front of Berkeley Hills.
I used to love passing that one.
So yeah, anyway. So you know exactly what I'm talking about. Well, you know the main road, Berkeley Hills, is right next to the fire station. Like my house is like the house I grew up in, rather. Like it stared at the fire station. So it was nothing for me to go across the street and, you know, watch sports with them and shoot basketball and, you know, talk, you know, between that, you know, and I can say that I was lucky enough to have that, you know, and then my friends in my neighborhood, you know, they had in-house dads. So like, you know, it was nothing for me to ask like such and such, you know, how tight is tie, you know, such as this, that, and the third, and blah, blah, blah. And, you know, but everybody don't have that. And that still doesn't take the place of an actual therapist, you know, but I at least have people I could go vent to. These people don't have, you know, they have a lot of kids that just don't have nobody to vent to. And they have all of this stuff bottled up. And it's like, by the time he's 18, you know, he's doing this, doing that. They done labeled him a menace. Like
Yeah.
what? Like what did you expect? Like y'all take away all the resources. Y'all don't give them nothing. There's nobody coming to pick these kids up and take them somewhere to show them something else.
Yeah. No. Katie responded and she said, white people know how to code switch to make themselves feel comfortable in a non-homogeneous crowd. But what about in a clinical setting? Doctors are trained as part of their comportment to use medical terminology, which is not always appropriate. So I guess in layman's terms, she's saying, hey, these doctors and medical community are trying to.
I was gonna say that. I had to process all that.
She's good. She's married to a doctor.
Okay.
I guess this is just how they talk around the house.
Yeah, because I I got it up here. I just had to find it. I wasn't expecting her to come at me like.
Dang, Katie, bringing that heat on Sunday morning.
I love it, Katie. Keep it coming. Keep it coming. I love it.
There's a care gap.
Yeah, but I mean, I agree, though. There do need to be more Black mental health professionals and people more in that field because, like you said, it's hard to go to sit down with some middle-aged white person that just don't get it. And they, that's not discounting them and with their ability, but it's easier for you to go talk to them because they can relate.
Sure. It's nice.
You really don't see like Black psychiatrists. Have you ever? Like I don't even see them on panels. Now I'm really sitting here and thinking about it. Like I might have to like Google and like look into that. Like you don't see that.
Do you ever follow Cornel West?
Oh yeah.
I love his stuff.
Oh yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Well, I better wrap this up. One of the your last sentence to your post on Facebook. What happens if I'm gunned down because someone thought my camera is a gun and they felt threatened? Or my black hooded sweatshirt that I wear to work makes them uneasy? Do we still need to hear all the sides of the story? America, we have to start putting the shoe on the other foot. If we are really one nation under God, let's start acting more like it, folks. Stay blessed. Hashtag my dreams don't have ceilings. I love it.
That's actually, I've had that hashtag now for about 6 years. Like if you go on Instagram,
yeah,
and you type in hashtag my dreams don't have ceilings, I actually have a shirt out now that's for sale that says I do not fit the description.
Oh, really? Okay, I'll put a link to that.
Yeah, I have a shirt out right now that says I do not fit the description.
Tell me more about what you're doing with your entertainer page.
Well, I do film, music, and promotions. I do a little bit of everything. I shoot. I work with a guy that shoots independent films and music videos. I work with him a lot. He's based in North Carolina. I manage a group called Rebels No Savage. I wear a lot of hats when it comes to the entertainment business, but I wear a lot. If you get a chance, check out my page. Go to my Instagram, Big Uncle Maja, MAJA.
Okay.
But to address your last statement about the camera and the gun part,
mm-hmm.
I don't understand that we need to hear all the. I do get that in some like there are some stories that you need to hear all sides, but like when you have the camera on and like we're still like to watch Eric Garner get choked out on the screen. Like that guy had to be like the guy that choked him out had to be like 5'9". Like he literally climbed. Like Eric, there was no need for that. Like sure. It just wasn't. I don't understand. Like what else do you need to see? Like on some of these cameras, like some of these videos, I don't understand it. Yeah, I really don't understand it.
what else do you need to see? What else do you need to hear? What else do you need to hear out of the president's mouth? I don't understand it either.
Yeah, but that goes back to some people don't want to know.
Yeah.
There's some people that you just can't change, and that's why I said about the foundation. A lot of this stuff has to start at the bottom. You know, like the people that are old, like people our age, this, that, and the third, you almost got to chalk that up as a loss. And I don't mean that like, you know, they're not fixable. Sorry, something's on my screen. You know,
Yeah.
I'm saying you have to focus on changing the kids for the future, or else you're going to keep getting the same cycles.
Yeah.
Like people that are already adults, you know, you can kind of filter that in, but you have to focus on the kids because that's what matters. They're going to inherit this earth that we're leaving. I tell people that all the time, like, you know, people litter and have these, you know, anything that you do now is going to affect your kids later. If you have kids, you have to be mindful of everything that you're doing right now.
Well, kids change everything. It's suddenly life isn't just about yourself anymore.
Exactly. And some people forget that.
Yeah.
Some people forget it.
Thank you for being with me today.
Kevin, man, I appreciate it, man. You know, it's a conversation like this, man, we can have, you know, we can talk until the sun go down. But I really appreciate the opportunity to be up here. I long time no see, by the way. I ain't seen him face to face. I haven't seen in a couple decades.
Yeah, I know. I'm gonna end our live stream real quick.
Yeah. Okay.